Friday, June 30th. Welcome, welcome everybody. John Aravosis here with the Aravosis Report. Welcome all. Oh, how's everybody doing? It's a Friday. I'm going to get my TikTok rolling here on my iPad. There we go. But introduce yourselves as always. Say how you're doing today. Let me get TikTok. Mirror your video. Yes. Woo! Here we go. Oops, put my microphone on for TikTok. Hello. Anyway, how are we doing here? All is well, I'm assuming. Another busy news day. Well, not such a busy news day, actually. Interesting news day, but not a terribly busy news day. Anyway, how are folks? Remember, tomorrow we've got our coffee talk, our Saturday morning chat we do for the TikTok and Discord subscribers. That includes the mods. All the moderators are included. Mods don't have to be there. It's a sane time, so we don't need you moderating, but you're welcome, of course. But the mods are welcome. All of our paid subscribers on TikTok and paid subscribers on YouTube and Twitch and Discord, everyone is welcome to join us. Saturday morning, we have our coffee talk, as I was saying, where we get together with my friend Vlad in Ukraine. Usually he joins us and just talk about the latest and hang out. And it's an informal get together of all of the folks who are paying for subscriptions to thank them. Thank you, Marino, for the gift there. Anyway, how are folks doing? Friday, woo-woo. Washington's a little, kind of cloudy and weird out. It's a little less disgusting than it was yesterday with all the Canadian smoke. Damn Canada. But what do you do? Anyway, we'll go another minute and then I'll start. Because I always wait for folks to arrive on YouTube and TikTok. It takes a little bit of time. Thank you, Susie Q, for the gift. Actually, I can even tell. I can tell today as I'm talking, I'm like having to breathe in a little, which I'm sure is the nastiness in the air. It's not bad. It's just like enough where I can tell I'm getting tired. Ooh, yeah, the snow. It was bad yesterday. Today isn't great, but today is much better than yesterday was. But yesterday was very bad. You got the notification today. Woo woo! Chicago bad today? Is it? Yeah, I know people were telling me it was bad the last couple of days there. I've got I always have my inhaler ready. I don't need it. At most every few months. At most, I rarely ever need it. Thank you, Mr. Russell. All right, guys, I will get started here. Thank you, Tom. So welcome, everybody. I am John Aravosis. This is the Aravosis Report. Thank you, Ben. And who's the hat? Oh, Mr. Russell again. Thank you, Mr. Russell, for the hat. This is my show Monday to Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, U.S., where we talk about the latest news from Ukraine. Thank you, Tom and Tomcat. And the way the show always works, I will start by telling you guys, thank you, Slava, for the gift. I will always start with the news, the stories I think are important, why I think they matter, and then we'll open it up to questions. Ooh, I am having it's okay. I may do my inhaler today. I can tell because of the stuff outside. For the first time, I'm actually getting winded talking to you guys. Don't worry, I will not collapse. Fortunately, my asthma has never been that bad. But the way the show works is, as I said, I will do the news for the first half, and then the second half will be your guys' questions. Thank you, Tom and Slava. I also very much appreciate the gifts, like right now folks are doing on TikTok, the YouTube Super Chat, Super Stickers, because they are all different ways of supporting my work. I do this for free. I've been doing it full time since the war broke out and have basically made it my job. So it helps when you guys do the contributions and the gifts. Thank you, Ellie, because that helps me pay the bills. So thank you for that. You can also sign up. Mind you, always like to put the pitch out there. You can sign up as a monthly contributor. On YouTube, you can now do that. My YouTube subscriptions are now live. Thank you, Cheryl. You sign up at those and it automatically makes you a VIP on the Discord. Thank you, Nicholas. So that's kind of a nice thing. If you have a Discord or you can set up a Discord, you come to VIP and then you can join us on the Saturday morning shows, but you can also use Ko-fi.com, which you will find at the bottom of the screen, but you guys can find the link in my profile on TikTok. Thank you, Lee and Allie. Susan just joined. Thank you, Susan. Always generous. All right, let's get rolling, guys. So today is day, oh my, I'm already forgetting. Hang on. Let me ask here. I forgot to update the day. It's either 491 or 492. How many days? Oops, wait, hang on. How many days has it been since February 24th, 2022? That's what I thought. 491 days. We're at day 490. Yes, we are in the 491st day of Vladimir Putin's 3-day special military operation in Ukraine. Thank you, Brendy, for becoming a YouTube member as well. Very sweet of you. Thank you, Lock and Key. Canasi there. So tomorrow we've got our coffee talk, like I was saying, 11 a.m. Eastern time US, which is New York City time. Thank you, Louis. Or it could be Luis. I don't know. Well, you're ready as Louis, though. I'm going to say Louis. Crab Tings, Vicky, for all the gifts on TikTok. But Saturday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern time, US. That's New York City time. Thanks, Kanausi. We get together and we hang out. Like I said, the paid TikTok subscribers, the paid Discord subscribers, the paid YouTube subscribers, Twitch. I may be forgetting something. But all of you guys are welcome to join us. We get together either on TikTok, so at 11 a.m. Eastern time US on TikTok. If you are a paid subscriber, you'll be able to join us. You can subscribe now if you want. And for you guys, anybody who is a subscriber, like I said, otherwise, go join us on Discord. It's a little difficult to do it via YouTube. I don't have enough devices, basically. But if you join us via Discord, that'll work. Thank you, user, for the gift there. All right, let's get rolling here. So, the counteroffensive, as always, and I've warned you guys about this before, we're going to be getting news about the counteroffensive very slowly. Patreon. Well, let me tell you a little thing about the Patreon, Bone. Bone was asking about Patreon. Thank you, Poppy. Who was that? Oh, no, thank Joy. I saw Poppy commenting. Thank you, Joy and Louie. I was pushing Patreon a lot, and then Patreon went evil. Thank you, Marcy. Patreon sent me a nasty little threatening email telling me that I had to disconnect my Discord from Patreon because Patreon is not a big fan of people pushing Ukraine, pro-Ukraine stuff. And they didn't like the fact that in my Discord community, we have auctions, and in the auctions, we help Ukrainian humanitarian aid, but we also were doing things like helping camouflage nets for the military, and that's military, and Patreon doesn't do military. I kid you not. This was the BS. Thank you, Courtney. This was the BS logic from Patreon saying that I'm using Patreon to promote the military. And it was like, okay, Patreon, whatever. In any case, so let's go back to this news. Yeah. So that's why I'm not allowed to hook your Patreon contribution to my Discord anymore because Patreon won't allow it. That's how obnoxious it is. Patreon basically is bought and sold by the Russians. There's something weird going on, but they're anti-Ukraine. And I think somebody is either I shouldn't even want to say my politics because I try to be in the middle here, but I think Patreon is either run by a bunch of far left crazies, the kind of people who are anti-Ukraine and want Putin to win, or somebody's paying them money and the people who pay them the money don't want them to be doing what they're doing. So they came after a bunch of us. Really screwed up. What do you do? All right, counteroffensive, Kherson. So interesting news today about Kherson. So Kherson is the area where the flood was taking place, okay? Over here. Remember the dam was here that we believe the Russians blew up, flooded the area around here. And there were reports in the last several days that Ukraine had crossed the river here because now that the floodwaters are gone. Oh, thank you, Succeed. That was very pretty blooms. Thank you there. That the Ukrainians had crossed the river and there was fighting on this side of the river, which typically south of the river. So you see this whole river here. South of the river here is where the Russians control. So all of this, the Russians control, okay? So south of the river, Russians. Well, there were reports that the Ukrainians had crossed the other day. And further reports today, interestingly, from Russian military bloggers, so these are from Russians, saying that the Ukrainians are in fact controlling some of the land now on the south side of the river. The Russians tried to basically kick them out today militarily, and the Russians failed. So that's good news. Ukraine claimed that it hit the Russian military headquarters and fuel storage facility in the occupied port city of Berdyansk over the last day. Berdyansk is down here, a little hard to see on my map, but it's listed. Thank you, McFadge, for the gift there. Appreciate that. Berdyansk is down here, and occupied by the Russians, because you remember all of this is occupied by the Russians, so right in the middle there. Ukraine is hitting military headquarters, and they're hitting fuel and lubricant factories because what they're doing, and this is what we've told you guys about this before. Thank you, Boyman, for the sunglasses. This is part of the strategy of shaping, where basically, of course, they want to take the Russians on directly, but before you take them on directly, you start to take them on indirectly. Thank you, Lori. Where you basically make them weaker. So you hit their fuel supplies. You hit lubricants, which would be used for tanks and other machinery, right? You basically destroy that so their machinery breaks down. You hit their military headquarters. So now the commanders are killed and they're injured and they're not able to command the troops. But you basically weaken the troops before you actually openly attack the troops. So that's some of what's still going on. And that's why the attacks in Berdyansk were important. Thank you, Deck, for the coral. Poland, kind of a big story today out of Poland. I haven't seen a lot of analysis of it yet, but Poland came out today and said that it wants NATO to station nuclear weapons in Poland as a result of Putin allegedly moving nuclear weapons into Belarus. Now, remember that Belarus is Putin's ally, run by a dictator, communist dictator, basically, or communist, whatever, but run by a dictator. Belarus is up here, okay? Russia up here, Belarus here. Next to Belarus, Poland, Lithuania, Latvia, okay? Poland, which is next to Belarus, not happy that the Russians claimed they were moving nuclear weapons in. We don't know if Russia actually moved nuclear weapons in because Russians lied. And they've claimed that the nuclear weapons are already there. But I mean, thank you, Jetta. When I say Russians lie, I don't mean like Russians lie. I mean the Russian government lies as a rule when it comes to international relations. Just assume that everything the Russian government is telling you is a lie, and you'll do fine. At the very least, assume it's a lie until it's been clarified, right? I mean, I'm sorry, until it's been verified, independently. So Russia claims they've moved nukes there. We don't know that they have. But Poland is basically saying, you know what? If they're going to have nukes there, then I want nukes on my territory to protect us too. The White House was asked about this today at a press conference and did not reply to the question. They ignored the question. It's certainly the kind of thing the White House doesn't want to talk about openly anyway, as far as planning their nuclear strategy. It kind of makes sense. And my suspicion is that there's two possibilities. Poland told the White House they were going to talk publicly about wanting nuclear weapons, or Poland didn't tell the White House that they were going to go public. But for some reason, Poland went public. And it's possible that NATO did this on purpose. I mean, maybe they're trying to exact a little bit of a cost from Russia and say, aha, look, now Poland wants nukes, right? Maybe to try to make Russia kind of back off a little. Or it's possible that Poland felt that America and NATO, privately were going, we don't think so. And Poland figured, I'll go public, right? I'll go public and ask for the nukes. So a little weird that they went public unless it was planned, meaning unless NATO had said, yeah, go public because, we want to freak the Russians out a little. Whether it's a good idea, who knows? I mean, part of the risk you get into with this stuff is that NATO moves nukes into Poland. Russia then feels Russia's got to move more nukes. Thank you, Dak, for that. And it just kind of becomes more and more nuclear weapons piling on. And, eventually maybe there's an accident, right? So, there's a good argument to be made for not, but I'd be curious to see in the next few days kind of how this shakes out. Thank you, Ball Bearing. About ATACMS, let's talk about ATACMS. So ATACMS are the longer range rockets that Ukraine has wanted, the longer range missiles that can go like more or less 200 miles or 300 kilometers. Ukraine's been wanting them forever. The defense experts have been saying that the U.S. should be giving them to Ukraine forever. The U.S. keeps finding different reasons. Thank you, John S., for the gift on TikTok. Previously, the U.S. had said, if we give this good of weapons to Ukraine, Putin will get mad and maybe he'll use nukes or go crazy or something, right? Then it became, if we give weapons that can go 200 miles to Ukraine or 300 kilometers, Ukraine might use them to attack Russia itself in Russia. And oh my God, then it would be World War III. Well, then the Brits stepped forward and gave Ukraine cruise missiles that can go 200 miles, right? Thank you, Andrew, for the gift. They can go 200 miles. So that kind of killed that argument because Ukraine's got the cruise missiles and Ukraine isn't using them to attack Russia in Russia. So that went through. So today, the Biden administration came up with another excuse to not give these weapons to Ukraine. Now they're claiming that we just don't have enough of them to spare and that we've got to use them for Taiwan if we ever go to war with China. Some of the defense experts are saying, maybe, but they're clearly more necessary for Ukraine. I will say this. If you've got to give me 3 different excuses for something and your excuse keeps changing, first you said In other words, you're saying no. But first you said no because of this. Then you said no because of this. And now that both excuses got thrown out the window, thank you, Nico, for the gift. Both excuses get thrown out the window. You've now come up with a third excuse that I haven't even heard of before. I cry bullshit. So I think they're lying. I just do. I think the administration's lying about this. I think Biden, for whatever reason, doesn't want to upset Putin, and he doesn't want to give Ukraine these weapons, or there's some other reason. What I don't like is, I've told you guys this before, I don't like being lied to by our government. And I realize the government's got to tell lies occasionally, but this is just, at this point, it looks duplicitous, which is what I don't like. It looks like they're playing games with us, and I don't like it. One weird wrinkle to this story. Where was this? New York Times. New York Times today, listen to this. General Milley, who's the America's top general, General Milley, I hear you, confirmed published reports this week that the Biden administration is considering sending to Ukraine cluster munitions and ATACMS, but he said no decision had been reached. So after the administration coming out and saying, basically leaking today, oh, we just don't have enough to give Ukraine. Now Milley comes out and says, oh yeah, they're on the table, we're considering it. Well, why would the U.S. be considering, according to Milley, considering sending to Ukraine cluster munitions and ATACMS if we don't have enough to give Ukraine? If we don't have enough to give Ukraine, then we wouldn't be considering giving them. Thank you, Louis. And this, as I said, is why I call lie. And I think they're lying to us because what was the famous quote from somebody a long time ago when they said, it's easier to tell the truth because when you tell a lie, you then have to keep track of when you lie, you have to keep track of your lies because then you're going to screw up, right? And if you tell the truth, you never have to keep track of it because you remember the truth. In any case, so let's hope they're seriously considering it, but I'm getting a little fed up with it. Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant, a big topic we've talked about a lot and still in the news today. Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant is Europe's largest nuclear plant. It's in Ukraine. It is all the way down here. This is occupied territory occupied by the Russians, but you'll note, as I've told you before, Russia occupies south of the river, and even a little bit here Ukraine controls, but south of the river, and then cuts over and goes up. So this is all like Russian-held territory. The very northernmost tip of the Russian-held territory is a little town called Enerhodar, which is, it houses the nuclear plant, the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant. Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant, largest nuclear plant in Europe, provides, or it was providing a lot of energy to Ukraine. I believe there's 6 reactors there. 5 of them have been shut down or almost shut down entirely. The 6th is running at a lesser capacity. And there have been concerns for a while, thank you, Randy, about Russia potentially trying to blow up the plant. Thank you, Brad. And the thinking is that Russia either would blow up the plant to one of 2 reasons. One, oh, thank you, Big Hawk. That gift always cracks me up. It's my newest favorite gift, the night helmet, because I just think it's so goofy. And I love the way it like shakes on your head. The Zaporizhzhia plant being right here is right in the center of the area Ukraine needs to get back. Okay. Remember, we've talked about before that for Ukraine to get back all of its territory here, it probably wants to start by cutting Russia's occupation in half. Because again, Russia's occupation is all of this. Cut it in half here, more or here or here, but you get the idea. Cut it in half somewhere around here. Well, what's in the middle of this? The nuclear plant. If the nuclear plant were to blow, an estimate I saw in the last week, if the nuclear plant were to blow, and the area that would be basically unlivable would go from Kryvyi Rih, so again, from here to here, Dnipro, so basically an area kind of like, actually probably close to Melitopol, Melitopol, an area pretty much like this would be unlivable. That cuts in nicely to the area of the counteroffensive. And an area like this is where the pollution would potentially go. So you're talking Bulgaria, Romania, Turkey. These are NATO countries, right? Other places. But the idea is that the Russians would either blow the plant because the Ukrainians are starting to win and the Ukrainians start to push them out. So if the Ukrainians are in danger from a Russian perspective of taking the plant, the Russians would just blow it to say, screw you. The other possibility is the Russians blow it now or anytime really in order to stop the Ukrainians from doing anything at all in this area. Because as I said, if the plant blows up, this whole area becomes irradiated, and for the next 30,000 years, unless some massive rehabilitation takes place to clean it. So it's possible that the Russians just do it in order to stop the Ukrainians from invading at all. That's the concern. Now, Kenneth, thank you for the new membership on YouTube. Annie, I'll get to yours in a second. Or actually, no, I'm gonna bring up Annie's question because actually, let me tell you what's going on. The latest report from the Ukrainians are saying that they have had reports that the Russians are slowly withdrawing from the nuclear plant, that they're slowly moving men away from it, and that the Ukrainian staff, because mind you, this is a Ukrainian nuclear plant, so most of the officials working there are still Ukrainians, but now they're being forced to work, by gun for the Russians. And the Ukrainians working there have told the government, the Ukrainian government, that they've been ordered by, I think, early next week, July 3rd, July 5th, to start leaving the plant, to abandon the plant. The question is, are the Russians really leaving? Are they really doing this because they're okay? A, are they really leaving the plant? B, if they are starting to leave the plant, are they doing it because they think it's going to get blown up, or are they doing it because they think the Ukrainians are just going to take the area, period, and they're getting out of there before the Ukrainians come? Let me pull up Annie's question because it's kind of in the middle of this. Do you think the U.S. and NATO threatening Russia behind the scenes about leaving the nuclear plant alone? Okay, you're missing a verb, I think. Do I think the U.S. and NATO are? Thank you, Elizabeth. Do I think the U.S. and NATO are threatening them behind the scenes? Yes. I think the U.S. and NATO have told the Russians privately, if you blow up this nuclear plant, that will be an act of war. Well, first of all, two things. One, blowing up the nuclear plant is a weapon of mass destruction, period. It is a weapon of mass destruction, and it's a weapon of nuclear mass destruction as well. It may not be a nuclear bomb, but it is absolutely akin to a dirty bomb. Actually, it's bigger than a dirty bomb. I would say a dirty bomb, just to sort of tell you guys, a dirty bomb is, I get to block somebody. I get to block I'm going to guess he's a Serbian. The Serbians always come on. It's kind of funny. The Serbians come on, and it's kind of sad because they come and they kind of have to defend the Russians, and it's very sad. Oh, did you get? Sorry, I blocked somebody. An angel got his wings. I got to block somebody today. In any case, the dirty bomb. A dirty bomb is when you have a regular bomb and you put nuclear material with it. Okay. Now the nuclear material blows up. Thank you, Elizabeth. The regular bomb blows up, and the nuclear material is with it. So the nuclear material explodes, but it doesn't explode nuclearly. Right? To have an actual nuclear explosion, it has to be very well timed, and the physics and everything else. It's not like a firecracker goes off, and if there's nuclear material next to it, it turns into a nuclear bomb. That's not the way it works. Thank you, Big Hawk. But if a firecracker goes off, or a bomb, and you've got nuclear material next to it, when the bomb explodes, the nuclear material gets thrown all over the place. That's called a dirty bomb. It's not that the nuclear material actually explodes. It's that the explosion throws the nuclear material everywhere, and now you've got nuclear contamination everywhere, which freaks people out. Also, psychologically, it freaks you out because if you heard in your town that a bomb went off downtown and it had nuclear material in it, you wouldn't sit there and go, well, okay, but it wasn't really a nuke. It was a dirty nuke, right? You'd be freaked out that it was a nuke, basically. So it's a terrorist weapon. It's a weapon of terror. What the Russians would be doing here would be something different. Typically, when you've got a dirty bomb, typically you don't think of a dirty bomb throwing radiation very far. You think of it throwing radiation like a city block, because basically it does throw, there is fallout in a sense, depending how you want to define fallout, because the explosion, when you have an explosion, you guys have seen the pictures from Ukraine, right? Thank you. Who's that? Gabriel. Thank you, Gabriel. You've seen the pictures from Ukraine. When there's even a small explosion that puts like a mushroom cloud in the air, the mushroom clouds that you see like from nuclear explosions, even small explosions can have a mushroom cloud. Well, the mushroom cloud is a cloud. It's a cloud of dirt and dust. If there were nuclear material there, that cloud would also be made up of dusty nuclear particles, right? So those go in the air. Those then travel in the air. Anywhere they travel, it spreads nuclear. The problem with Zaporizhzhia is it's much bigger. That plant goes off, and the area that's going to be unlivable is like this. If you're talking an area like this is unlivable, That's akin to a nuclear bomb going off. That's not just a regular weapon going off. So anyway, that was a very long-winded way of answering Annie's question and saying that I think the US and NATO told the Russians privately and said, you blow up this nuclear plant, and that is going to be akin to you setting off a nuclear weapon as far as we're concerned, and we are going to respond in kind. Let's hope the Russians believe them. Do I think the Russians would do it? I was telling you guys yesterday, absolutely, right? Do I think the Russians will do it? I don't know. Do I think they would do it? Of course. I don't think any of us think the Russians wouldn't do this, right? The Russians would be the first people to blow up a nuclear plant just to be jerks. But do I think they will? It depends to what degree they believe us and to what degree they think we would react, very negatively to it. Kenneth, thank you again for that. And Annie, thanks for the question. Scrolling down. All right. So I'm going to tell you really quick. Yeah. Finally, I was going to tell you, not finally, I've got more stories coming up, but a new poll shows that 89% of Ukrainians want to join NATO. Ukraine's been making a lot of noise for a couple months now, but especially over the last few days, because there's a big NATO meeting coming up next month in July in Vilnius. I always forget. Vilnius is Lithuania, right? I'm already forgetting my locations here. I think it's Lithuania. I should know this. Vilnius is Lithuania, right? But the NATO meeting is in Vilnius. And Ukraine wanted that meeting to be a meeting where, thank you for the gift there, Lisa, that NATO would announce that Ukraine is going to be joining NATO. NATO can't really agree on it. I think the big problem has got to be it's got to be the Hungarians, among others, although maybe the Turks are playing games again, but it's got to be the Hungarians. And there is still a lot of talk in the last few days about Ukraine wanting to be invited to this NATO summit. Thank you, Inspired. Wanting to be invited to the NATO summit, but they want to be giving some kind of a guarantee for a path to joining NATO. And NATO isn't really ready for it yet. Well, let's see what happens. We've got 2 more weeks. And I will say, I think to some degree, Ukraine doing this publicly is helping to put pressure on NATO. But, I just worry whether, it's Hungary. It is Hungary. The problem with Hungary is, among other things, Hungary's leader, or Viktor Orban, is a Putin puppet, basically. Thank you, Ellen. He works for Putin. He's way too close to Putin. He also just, I think, on an ethnic level, doesn't like the Ukrainians. I sense some racism there as well, because you'll hear the weird things he's done about basically claiming Ukrainian land as being Hungarian. There's just a weird, thank you, G-Dub. It's a weird mixture of wannabe Soviet dictator, racist, and basically corrupt in terms of being bought off by Putin. Thank you, Bonnie. So I don't think he's going to let them in anyway, but nonetheless. Let me do a quick pitch to support my work. As I said at the beginning of the show, there are a number of ways you guys can support me with the gifts on TikTok and YouTube and all of that, which I very much appreciate, but also by becoming a monthly subscriber, which is a really, really good way to support me, because it helps. Thank you, Quinn. It helps me to get a more established income coming each month. Basically, I do this full time. Been doing it since the war broke out. So, almost a year and a half now, maybe a year and 3 months. And thank you, Darren. Who else is there? Quinn. Thank you, Quinn. And basically the way I pay my bills is the gifts you guys give me here. But a nice way of doing it is also getting monthly donations. There's a number of ways you can do that for the YouTubers, like Kenneth did there. Thank you, Kenneth. You guys can subscribe directly on YouTube. Ann just did as well. Thank you, Ann. You subscribe directly on YouTube. It's monthly. You can pick which category. And one of the advantages for doing it on YouTube, or you can do it via Ko-fi.com, which is ko-fi.com/Aravosis. Thank you, Brad. You can find that link in my profile on TikTok. Very first thing that comes up. So click the link in my profile. Very first thing is Ko-fi. Sign up on Ko-fi, sign up on Discord, sign up on YouTube, sign up on Twitch, and automatically, if you have a Discord account, it makes you a VIP in our Discord. What that means is you can join us other than I hate having to explain this, because TikTok being difficult, TikTok is broken, and TikTok's integration with Discord doesn't work. You're supposed to be a VIP on my Discord, but it's broken. TikTok knows it, and it's broken for all the creators, but TikTok hasn't fixed it yet. But nonetheless, you get to join my Saturday morning show. Any of you, including TikTok, our Saturday morning show, 11 a.m. Eastern time on Saturday, just for the paid subscribers. We usually get together with my friend Vlad in Ukraine. He joins us, and we get an update from Ukraine and talk about the latest. do it again tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Eastern. But it's also just more generally a way of supporting my work, which I really appreciate. Finally, again, everybody but TikTok, because TikTok isn't connected, because TikTok's broken. You guys also get access to my VIP auctions. I'll show you the auction stuff later, but we have a lot of really cool auctions of cool Ukrainian stuff. And there's a special section just for folks who are the paid subscribers. So thank you. All right. Any case, so please do, guys, if you would consider it, join on the YouTube subscription, join on TikTok subscribers, or Ko-fi.com is another great one. It's ko-fi.com/Aravosis. It's on the bottom of the screen. You guys can find it in my profile. Click the link. Okay, let's keep going here. Wagner update. I've got lots of little updates about Wagner Group, the guys who tried to overthrow Putin last week. So a lot of little updates about them. One report from a Pentagon spokesman today: some elements of the Wagner Group remain in Russian-occupied territory in Ukraine after the rebellion. Thank you, Martin. So it seems that some of the Wagnerites are still fighting in Ukraine, which is interesting. The New York Times says satellite imagery reveals more than 300 new tents at a site that could be a base for Wagner in Belarus. Remember that, thank you, Martin, for the hat there. Remember that Prigozhin, who's the head of the Wagner Group, supposedly is going into exile in Belarus, but to this day, nobody's still sure where he is. We think maybe some of his troops will join in there. Putin has offered them they can go there if they want, but we really don't know. Now it looks like, the last couple of days at least, that possibly the dictator of Belarus, Lukashenko, may be setting up a military camp for the Wagner guys, and that's what these satellite photos appear to be, but we don't know. 300 new tents, and I'm told the 300 new tents would be, could easily house thousands of the Wagner guys. I just saw somebody say on TikTok, and you are right, it's something like 100 kilometers or 120, Islander is saying it, 120 kilometers from Kyiv. That's about 60 miles. So yeah, or if it was kilometers or miles, I don't remember. I thought it might have, I believe it might be 120 miles, and it's not from Kyiv. We'll have to see. But what I read yesterday was like 100. I thought it was kilometers or miles, but it was 100 from Ukraine. I don't think it's from Kyiv, because the thing is, Kyiv is close to the Belarusian border. We've got to see. It's a good thing to check. We'll have to check and see exactly where it is. Bottom line is that the concern is that the Wagner guys are going to be going to Belarus, and they're going to be too close to Ukraine. And the Ukrainians are worried about it, understandably. In response to that, Zelensky announced today that they're going to be beefing up the northern border in Ukraine, which is up here by Belarus. What sucks about that? They're doing it because they're worried now that the Wagner guys, the mercenaries, are getting up here. And, what if they decide to invade? The problem with that is that it means Ukraine is now going to be wasting some of its troops defending the area up here, when they'd rather be fighting here with the counteroffensive. So I mentioned this before, that there always was a concern that having threats at other borders would mean Ukraine would have to waste men and women by going up there. Sadly, they will, and they're going to. Some other things: Putin is blocking access to a number of websites linked to Prigozhin, the Wagner head. He has closed down his media holdings, which include the Internet Research Agency, which is the troll factory that he had built, obviously at Putin's request. Thank you, Elizabeth. Remember, he had built the troll factory in 2016 that interfered in the American elections. That's a Prigozhin project. He liquidated the legal entity, the holding company of all of this. The question is, does that mean he got rid of the troll factory? Does it mean he got rid of his ownership of the troll factory? It is more likely that Putin stepped in and said, you're not touching that troll factory. It works wonders, but we don't want you running it anymore. That would be my guess as to what's going on. Annie is asking, thank you, Annie, for that. Maybe I missed something. Don't other NATO countries besides the UK have longer range missiles that they can send? Why is it on the US and ATACMS? I don't know, but I will bet you they do. There's a couple different things. Actually, interesting. That's an interesting question. I don't know the answer to. Thank you, Kanausi, because Annie is correct that the issue keeps focusing on ATACMS. That is the weapon system that all the defense, not all, but a lot of the defense experts are saying that the U.S. should be giving, that we should be, NATO in general should be giving the Ukrainians. They're not really pointing to other weapons that go the same distance. Now, I do know, correct, Callum. Callum is saying on TikTok that ATACMS can be launched from HIMARS. Yes, but are there no other missile systems that can go that distance that can be given to Ukraine? I mean, so what if it doesn't? So what if it's not launched from a HIMARS, right? They can launch it from some kind of ground launcher or something, right? I mean, is there any, or is there just no other system because the system you'd be launching it from is too complicated? I mean, it's a good question. I don't know what the answer is. Thank you, Stephen, by the way, for the new subscribership on YouTube. I mean, variants of the Storm Shadow, those are cruise missiles. We know they're already getting the cruise missiles, the Storm Shadows. We know that, thank you, Elizabeth, for the TikTok gift. We know the French have already said they're going to be giving them or have given them their version of the Storm Shadow. But it's a good question as to, I mean, you get what I'm saying? Like, I know that the ATACMS are fired by the HIMARS, but are there no other missiles fired by anything else that we can give Ukraine that go this far? Other than Storm Shadow, which they're already getting. Tomahawks, folks are saying. Now, Tomahawks, it's funny. I normally think of Tomahawks being fired from ships and things. I'm sorry. Thank you for the gift there, sweets, from Timothy, for the overpouring sweets. Just curious really quick, if anybody can throw in, otherwise it's okay. Craig Prescott is saying the U.S. is one of the only countries that can make them, French and U.K. too, Sweden, I think. So if countries have them, it still requires U.S. permission. But the question isn't ATACMS. I guess when you say them, I don't just mean ATACMS, I mean missiles that can go 200 miles. There's two variants of the Storm Shadow, but again, who's got them, right? Because we know the Brits and the French are the two that have the Storm Shadow, and both of them have already said yes. The French have said yes, and the Brits have said yes. Those are the two variants that I know. Nathan says they are in mass quantities in the U.S. arsenal. Storm Shadow, which is the British cruise missile, is limited, available from the U.K. and France. Ukraine needs mass quantities. Okay, so maybe that's it. And again, the U.S. keeps saying they don't have enough, so who the hell knows? Anyway. Just throwing this out there because I think it's a good question, Annie. I really don't know. That's a really good question. All right. Let me keep going here. Make sure here. Viktor Orban in Hungary is blocking any additional European financial aid from the EU to Ukraine. He announced that today. He issued some obnoxious statement going, "I want to know where the rest of the money's gone so far," which, classic Viktor Orban. I'm telling you, the guy shouldn't be in Ukraine, and the guy shouldn't be in NATO, and he shouldn't be in the EU. But, oh well. I think an angel's about to get his wings here. All right. I see you, troll. I'm letting the mods take him because I can tell this guy's going to be a troll, but I'll let him out himself first. All right. He's going to be a troll. I'm telling you, Ash, he's going to be a troll. Let him troll first before you block him, though. Or I'm good. I've got good trolldar. I've been running online. I know, Ash, I knew you knew. I've been running online communities since 1995, and I've got excellent trolldar. Final story of the day. Tinder, the dating app, has officially left Russia. They said about a month ago they were going to leave, and they are gone. So romance is now officially dead in Russia. Oh, well. All right, guys. That is it for the news. I'm going to do questions in a minute. Let me show you a couple of the auction items because I always like to show you guys the auction items. The auctions we do, I was a student of Madeleine Albright at Georgetown. Yes. Did you read that or did you know of me from there? Felice? Yes, I studied on, a lot of us studied under her, but yes, I did. And I liked her a lot. She was a neat woman. One of the things we do for supporting my work and also supporting Ukraine is that we hold auctions. And basically, I get a lot of cool stuff from Ukraine and then auction it off. And 50% of the auction revenues get sent back to Ukraine, humanitarian aid, some helping the military, like for camouflage nets, things like that. And some of it goes to support my work because I do this full time. And literally, this is my job full time. So nobody actually pays me other than you guys. Thank you, Kenneth. And I don't have a salary other than this. So quite literally, my salary for the year is the gifts you guys give me and everything else. So thank you very much. But anyway, I just want to show you a few of the auction items we've got on the Discord. You can go check it out. It's discord.america. I'm reading Vinny writing Tinder in America, and I'm saying discord.america. Discord.aravosis.com is my Discord link. You can find it in my in my profile. That link takes you to all my links. You guys, the Aravosis link takes you. But a couple of the cool things we're auctioning, we got about 10 things actually we're auctioning off. I like this because it's the tractor tank drawing painting that I love from Ukraine that shows the Ukrainian tractor pulling the Russian tank, but it's a fridge magnet and a bottle opener that I think is just very cool from Ukraine. Second thing, we've got a, very cool. The plaque is the Russian warship Go F Yourself plaque, which shows the Ukrainian soldier flipping the ship, the Moskva, which is the Russian warship Go F Yourself ship that the Ukrainians ended up sinking. This is a drawing based on the famous Ukrainian stamp. This is actually first day edition stamped postage stamp from Ukraine of the tractor and the tank, and then a blow up of it framed, which I like this one a lot because I think it's a beautiful drawing. It really is. But also neat because it's first day of issue stamped, and it's stamped in Ukrainian. Well, it says the slogan in Ukrainian, "Good day, we are from Ukraine." First day, you can see the bottom, first day. And then the final, I mean, there's 10 things, but the final one I'll show you. Oh, actually, two final ones. This one's really neat. This was made by one of our members. I mean, one of you out there who, I'm forgetting your name. I'm remembering like Wild Hunt is her screen name, but I'm forgetting your name. She made this herself. She's Ukrainian American. And this is based on, this is a Ukrainian style. And it's based on a Ukrainian necklace worn by a famous Ukrainian feminist writer and poet. And she made the choker herself. Look at that. She made this herself and gave it to us as a gift to auction off. So very, very cool. Oh, it's you. There you are. Wild Hunt Corsetry. Larissa. There she is. She's on TikTok. There you are. If folks want to, let me see. I don't know if I can pin. That's funny. If you guys want to pin Larissa's really quick, Wild Hunt. But yes, Larissa made these absolutely gorgeous. So we're auctioning this off as well. It's beautiful. I mean, I don't really need a woman's choker, but I love just the artistry of this kind of a thing. Oh, and the final thing, because this always cracks me up. The final thing we're auctioning off is a real Ukrainian military camouflage net. Which I just love this thing. But one of the things we've been doing with our auction proceeds over at Discord, or it's discord.aravosis.com, is we half the money goes to Ukraine. A lot of it humanitarian. Some of it has gone to make camouflage nets for the Ukrainian military. So I asked them if they could maybe make us a smaller net that we could auction off. And they made this net. Cracks me up because I wanted one that was 1 meter by 1 meter, so like 3 feet by 3 feet. They made me one that's 9 feet by 2 feet. So it's 3 meters by almost 1 meter, like 2/3 of a meter. It's really cool. It's really cool. I mean, it compresses nice and small, so it mails easily, but it's made for sort of spring and summer. You'd have to kind of get closely to see, but the colors are kind of that bright green in there that you see more in spring and summer colors. It's really cool. Anyway, so we're auctioning off the camouflage nets as well, which I think is kind of fun. Anyway, you can find all of those over at discord.aravosis.com. The Discord's free. You'll see 2 auction areas. The public auction's for everybody. The VIP auction is for the paid subscribers. That's all of you sorry guys. That's all the Discord subscribers, the YouTube subscribers, paid subscribers, that is, and the Twitch. And I think that's it. All right, guys. So let's do questions. Let's do Q&A. Excellent. TikTok, you guys know you can submit questions via the Q&A link in my profile. That's probably the easiest way. Rest of you can put them here. Copyist wants the camo net. I'll send it to you in Czech Republic. You got to explain to customs. Well, I'm curious what kind of a duty they're going to charge on a camouflage net. Let me look here and see if any of you guys, I forgot to tell you to put questions in the Q&A link, but please do. Nick is asking, do you think Ukraine should join NATO while the war is going on? It could start World War III. It's a very good question, okay? Now, one sort of very good concern that's been raised about Ukraine joining NATO is they're still at war. And the concern is, if they're still at war, doesn't that risk basically, like, in other words, Ukraine's at war, they join NATO. Well, now a NATO member is being attacked. Isn't that Article 5, right? Like, it gets confusing. Wouldn't that drag us into a war? It's a fair point. I wasn't really sure what the answer to that was. One interesting point, though, that actually, let me go one step further. The concern raised wasn't just that they're currently at war; it's that Russia is occupying 17% of Ukraine, 17%. And if Russia's occupying that, they'll get into war again in the future. And we don't want that. We don't want war in the future. So we shouldn't let we shouldn't let Ukraine into NATO until all of Ukraine's territorial disputes, with Russia are settled. Somebody raised the issue a few months ago, which I thought was rather brilliant, and said, what about West Germany? Right? The Soviets, who were basically friends with the Nazis, finish up World War II. I mean, they attacked the Nazis finally because they had to, because the Nazis attacked the Soviets first, so they didn't have a choice but to fight back. But after the war, the Soviets did what they said they were going to do in the secret deal they had with the Nazis. They took half of Europe hostage, right? So they basically cut Germany in half, or cut Germany in third, whatever. Czechoslovakia, Hungary, Poland, all of Eastern Europe, they stole. Thank you, Salty, for the gift on TikTok. And occupied it for like half a century almost. Well, one of the places the Soviets occupied with dictatorships was East Germany. They took Germany, they cut out a third of it, and they made it a brutal all of them were brutal, but Germany was particularly brutal, East German communist dictatorship. Yet, when we formed NATO, we let West Germany into NATO, even though we knew that West Germany had a huge territorial dispute with the Soviets, and they wanted East Germany back, and that could lead to war at some point. But we took them back. Now, I don't know enough about the history to know, were any kind of promises made? I mean, like, did the Germans promise us they would never start a war, with East Germany? I don't know. But it's an interesting question as to why. Now, mind you, it wasn't a hot war at that point. At that point, it was literally the Cold War. It was not a hot war, though. So it wasn't like East Germany and West Germany were fighting at each other, or the Soviets were, bombing the West, and the West is bombing the Soviets trying to get the land back. That's what's happening in Ukraine. That's not what was happening in Germany. In Germany, the war was over. So you could argue it's different in that regard. But I don't know. I don't know what the solution is. But I do think when the war is hot right now, it's difficult, because then what would we just say any war involving the Russians, NATO won't get involved, right? Because the problem is, you join NATO and Article 5 kicks in. The whole idea behind joining NATO is countries join NATO because they want to be protected. They join NATO, and it's a mutual protection pact where every NATO member promises to defend every other NATO member, right? So if they get attacked, they know the now 30 other members, because there's 31 members now that Finland has joined, the 30 other members will come and defend you. Well, what kind of an attack counts as an attack if Ukraine's already at war? Would we say, well, then the war with Russia doesn't count, and Russia can keep attacking Ukraine as a NATO member and we won't help them? But if Belarus attacks, we'll help them? Right? It's very, I don't know the answer to it. Copies is saying, how I understand it is that West Germany was accepted to be shield against Soviet expansion. Yeah. And it wasn't in war, so there was no problem. Correct. It was not a war at the time the war was over, so to speak. And that would be one possibility. So at the very least, the argument would be the war has to be over between Ukraine and Russia. The problem is, I don't know. I think it's here's the problem with this. If you're Ukraine, are you going to really, are you going to accept NATO telling you can join NATO? But, for example, let's pretend this war ends and Ukraine doesn't get Crimea back. If NATO tells Ukraine, you can join us, but you better not attack Crimea, because if you attack Crimea, then we're going to get dragged into it. Okay? We're going to get dragged into it. Is Ukraine going to accept that? There's no way Ukraine's going to accept that. I still think it's messy. I'm not sure. I want Ukraine to join NATO, and I think NATO ought to be very clear about it, but I'm not sure what the solution is in terms of NATO's Article 5 promise to go to war if they're attacked. How do you get around letting Ukraine in, and then we don't have war in 2 years when Ukraine attacks to get its land back? Then again, right, you've got North and South Korea. Well, the problem is, it's not going to be a truce, though. If I'm Ukraine, I'm coming back, right? I'm coming back for my land. North and South Korea. North Korea isn't like North Korea isn't getting ready to take its land back from South Korea. Excuse me. South Korea isn't getting ready to take its land back from North Korea. Whereas Ukraine absolutely positively will go and take its land back from Crimea, as they should. I don't know. Anyway, you get what I'm saying. It's a tough call. Wilson, super chat question. What is one topic, event, possibility that you think we should pay attention to that's currently flying under the radar? Oh, I hate questions like that, Wilson, or being underreported. I don't know, because somebody had asked me this way at the very beginning. Like, we're talking when I started this thing a year ago. And I kind of told them the problem is I don't know what I don't know. So, like, events that are under the radar are things I'm not paying attention to. I've been paying attention almost full time to Ukraine. I don't know. I mean, I will say this. I'm very worried about Iran getting nuclear weapons, because if I'm Israel, what do you do? Right? If I'm Israel, what do you do? And that worries me a bit. Because Israel's got nuclear weapons, and Israel, to stop to stop Iran from going nuclear, could use its nuclear weapons. And if you're Israel, I'm trying to think of a diplomatic way of saying this. If you are Israel, there is an argument to be made for why you would use all the weapons at your disposal to stop Iran from getting nuclear weapons. Because do you think Iran would use their nuclear weapons to destroy Israel? Yes, they would. I believe Iran would absolutely do that. So if you think Iran is going to nuke Israel anyway, should Israel nuke Iran to stop them? Do you see how bad that gets fast? I think it's a mess. It's an absolute mess what's going on there. And I don't know what we do about it. But that's the issue that really, that worries me other than this right now, because of that very situation and I don't fault Israel. I mean, I fault Israel for a lot of stuff. I don't fault Israel for this. Iran wants to nuke them, I think. And if Iran gets nukes, look out, So anyway, there you go. That's my answer, Wilson. I actually did have an answer for you. Okay. I was a little worried I didn't have an answer. I don't know. Malathos, but I do think Patreon's up to something, being pro-Russian. Now, it's possible that they're far left, like Greenwald, lunatic, Aaron Mate types, where they just are like so corruptly on the left that they support all the lefty dictators and stuff. I don't know, but there's something wrong with Patreon where they've been going after all the Ukrainian creators. It's screwed. I mean, I've been using Patreon for 5 years. I will never recommend them to anybody now after this, because I don't trust them. I mean, they've got some weird. I've seen this on other lefties, by the way, but I'm talking extreme left, where when the war started, people didn't want to help me on some stuff because they were like, well, that would be, I'm not in favor of wars, and I don't want to help you do your work because that would be supporting war. And I'm like, supporting the Ukrainians to stop an invading army intending to commit genocide, that is not you're supporting war so you don't want to help, because you don't want to help the Ukrainians stop a genocide. Like, what the hell is that, right? And I wonder whether that's what's going on, that the Patreon people are in such a little ivory tower about how liberal they are. Again, and I say this as somebody who is not really on the right myself, but they're so liberal and proud of themselves that they don't want to be supporting war. So they're not going to help anybody that helps Ukraine, because if you help Ukraine, you're supporting war, and war is bad. But they don't kind of realize that genocide's bad too, But they've also shot themselves in the foot, because I wouldn't recommend anybody use Patreon now ever again. I really wouldn't. They can't. After they sent me that note, I was like, you people cannot be trusted, which is really unfortunate, because also I blast them routinely on my show now to let people know they can't be trusted. Really, you only get one. What is it? You only get one chance to establish a first impression, so to speak. Paul Gray, whose mail someday you will get. NATO Vilnius Summit, upcoming July 11th. There we go. Yep. Predictions for outcomes. I'm not convinced much is going to come of it. So this is a big NATO summit in Vilnius, which, as I said before, I think is Lithuania. I'm forgetting. July 11th. The hope was that there would be some kind of a path to NATO. I don't even know what that's about. The TAP war. Oh, okay. Poppy, Audrey, well, Callum, everybody hates you. Okay, I hadn't seen what that was. That's cute. Um, the the hope was that at this NATO summit coming up in about 2 weeks, that there would be some kind of action about Ukraine, whether it was a path forward for Ukraine, whether it was like, okay, Ukraine, here are the 5 things you need to do, and over the next 3 years, or whatever, right? Or once the war is settled, but I think because of Hungary, NATO can't. There is no way that Viktor Orban, who runs Hungary, who is in the pocket with Putin, will ever let Ukraine join NATO. He's not. And I think it's going to come to the point where NATO's got to figure out, do we kick that SOB out of NATO? Because frankly, Hungary, what does Hungary get us in NATO? Literally. I mean, you never, ever hear anybody talk about the important Hungarian commitment to NATO, because, oh, yes, if we didn't have Hungary, oh boy, right? We'd all be dead if we didn't have Hungary defending us, right? Thank you, Katie. Whereas when it comes to Ukraine, oh, incredibly important. They've proven it. In terms of their military might, amazing. Hungarians, right? In terms of Ukraine being right on the border with Russia and being a buffer state, or an important frontline state like Poland, hugely important. Hungary? No. And Turkey, the problem with Turkey is literally jutting out into the Middle East. Turkey, I mean, I say this as somebody who's really pissed at Erdogan, who runs Turkey, because he's a wannabe dictator. Let me show you the map. Turkey is strategically very importantly located, and it is. It is, unfortunately. So there's a decent argument to be made as to why Turkey matters, okay? Hungary, there's no argument. Hang on here. Oh, God, YouTube. Oh, my God, YouTube, stop. I'm trying to show you the map here. So, okay. Turkey, I'm going to show you sort of, yeah. Okay. You look at Turkey, okay? South of Turkey, Lebanon, south of Turkey, bordering Syria, east of Turkey, bordering Iraq, east of Turkey. Oh, God, I always forget that. I forgot that, wait, Turkey has a border with Iran? I didn't even, no, that's not true. It does. I had no idea Turkey had a border with Iran. Turkey has a border with Iran? Holy crap. Okay, see, I didn't even remember that. I remembered Iraq and the rest of the area. Okay, Iran. I mean, they border Iran. Look at this. Okay. I mean, I'm sorry, I wasn't showing you guys. This is the map. Now, mind you, Google Maps does such a bad job at their maps. One problem with Google, if anybody has a connection to Google, they don't show boundaries on maps. Look at this map and try to find the border in Eastern Turkey. I mean, you can see it, but it's very hard to see. It's hard. It's not so easy to see in any case, but you can see where Turkey is, north of Syria, north of Lebanon, touching Iraq, touching Iran. It's hugely important in terms of the location. It is. I mean, I'll say this as somebody who gets really pissed at Turkey, location, very important. And again, Hungary, well, I guess Hungary can help us stave off the brutal threat of Slovakia, or, I mean, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, whatever. Any case, I think Hungary needs to be chucked. Hang on. Well, sorry, Peter's making a comment. I got most of it, Peter. Peter says NATO needs to change its policy. So if Russia keeps the war going forever, here's a point. He says, thank you, Tomcat, for the gift. If Russia keeps the war going forever, then Ukraine will never be able to become a NATO member. Thank you, Gamma Filter. Only NATO put boots to help to win. The last one, I'm not too sure. Thank you, Tomcat. But you're right about that. The problem is that we are basically giving Russia a veto card. Because we're saying, well, Russia keeps screwing around with Ukraine, and we'll be too freaked out to let Ukraine join NATO. No, I know Slovakia is. I was joking. I was joking that Hungary protects us against Slovakia. You know what I mean? That's what I mean. Like, what is it border that it's protecting us from? Nothing. I love Slovakia, nice place, I'm sure, but that was my point. They're not a threat. All right. What else we got here, guys? I guess, Bill, I don't know what you're talking about, Bill. I mean, I love your content, but to think the U.S. and NATO don't lie to us is delusional. I'm just not sure what you mean. I mean, I told you at the beginning of the show, I think the Biden administration is lying to us about ATACMS, the long-range missiles for Ukraine. I'm convinced they're lying to us. So I don't know what you mean. The problem is the Russians lie as a matter of policy. Every word out of the Russians government's mouth is a lie. All governments lie is like saying all people lie. Yeah, all people lie. Some people lie more than others. Donald Trump, there isn't a single word out of Donald Trump's, the word the out of Donald Trump's mouth is a lie. I mean, there isn't a single word out of Donald Trump's mouth that's not a lie. There isn't a single word out of the Russian government's mouth when it deals with foreign policy that isn't a lie. They lie as a matter of course. The U.S. does not do that. The U.S. lies sometimes, but not where every word is always a lie. Elon Musk is another one. Elon Musk, every word out of that guy's mouth is either a lie or he ends up being wrong. I'm exaggerating a little, right? Not every word, right? But you get my point. Almost everything Elon Musk says ends up being either wrong or he just is lying. And Trump is the same way. And the Russians, Russian foreign policy, absolutely positively. And like I told you, it's like saying all people lie, right? Yeah, all people do lie. Do you know some people who lie much more than others? Yes, right? So saying all governments lie is like saying all people lie. You're pretending that they're all the same. They're not all the same. And we know they're not all the same. You know, come on. I mean, I'm not even going to begin to even accept that as a comparison, you know? Any case, what else we got here? Chinese government. You're trying to get me in trouble, Troy, aren't you? What else we got here, guys? All right, let me go look. More questions on TikTok. We could even go do Discord a little bit tonight. Because we haven't been able to do Discord all week almost. But I'm finally like on schedule for tonight that we could even do Discord a little bit. And then remember tomorrow, like I said, tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern time US, we will be on Discord. Thank you, Tom. We'll be on Discord and we'll be on TikTok and we'll be doing the coffee talk, as I call it, the coffee talk, where we hang out and I chat with just the paid subscribers. So please do show up. Those of you who are paid subscribers and mods, all the moderators are included automatically, but paid subscribers and mods on TikTok, paid subscribers and mods, all you YouTube folks, join us on Discord. These guys will be on TikTok. You guys are on Discord, Twitch on Discord, Discord folks on Discord, Ko-fi folks on Discord, but everybody, all the rest of you join us on Discord. Discord, exactly. And if you don't have an account on Discord, if you're interested, try to set one up. It's not always the easiest thing, I will say, Discord, the first time you use it. Once you get used to it, it's not so bad. But at the beginning, it's a little difficult. Thank you, Hedge, for the hedgehog. I always get a crack when you do that. What did Audrey do that she's getting congratulations for? Did Audrey congratulate something? Oh, he's being mean to you. Oh, I see. Oh, she's the winner of tonight's war. I see. Okay, congratulations, Audrey. What is it? Félicitations. All right, Q&A. Would it be a good idea to change the requirements to join NATO since Russia keeps exploiting they can't have territory dispute rule? Well, the issue isn't really, the problem with Ukraine joining isn't a technicality, okay? It's not like, oh, Ukraine should join, but there's this little technical rule. It's not really a technical rule. It's a problem, which is Ukraine's currently at war. How do you let a country that's currently at war join NATO? Because wouldn't that mean then that we'd have to declare war on Russia immediately, right? I mean, it's not clear how it would work. It's not that it's not like you change the rule. That's not the problem. The problem is, wouldn't we all like go to war if Ukraine joins? How do you, maybe there is a way around it. Thank you, Doreen. I'm not saying there isn't. Maybe there is. I'm not sure what it is. And then the issue becomes, it isn't. Now that's okay. That's very funny. Kuhnerman says over on TikTok, it's not a war. It's a special military operation. That's funny. I will give you that one. Then the question becomes, if Ukraine were to reach a truce with Russia or a peace of some kind, is that enough? I don't know. It is enough if it's a real peace, like literally either Ukraine gets all its land back or Ukraine says, yeah, Russia still controls X, Y, and Z, and we're never going to go after it again. Now, I would say this. There's an interesting argument to be made. The Ukrainians wouldn't like it, but there's an interesting argument to be made, and I'm not really, don't worry, Ukrainians, I'm not proposing you give away land, but for someone to say Ukraine joins NATO The war ends, Ukraine joins NATO, but Ukraine has to give up Crimea, or Ukraine has to give up Donbass. I don't know what. But if they do, in other words, Ukraine would cede all of its interest in that territory, but in response, they would get to join NATO. Because then, hypothetically, then you'd have a situation where Ukraine is not in an ongoing conflict over those lands. Now, the problem is, of course, Ukraine does not want to give away its land, understandably, right? I understand that. But at least if that were to happen hypothetically, that would get rid of the land conflict that we'd be worried about future wars. Anyway, it's hard. I don't know what the answer is. I do think that the answer is more than what NATO is doing. But again, Mike is saying ATACMS so U.S. approved ATACMS been approved for Ukraine. What does that mean? Are you saying there's news, or are you just kind of hoping there? Anthony, hold on. I hadn't seen your question there, Anthony. It popped up when I was looking away. Anthony says, would it not make sense that Ukraine would have to take some Russian land to have a no man's land? Well, putting nuclear concerns aside, it would be great for Ukraine to take some Russian land, right? Why not? I mean, Russia has Ukrainian land. Why wouldn't Ukraine want some? Why wouldn't Ukraine want some of Russian land to trade and say, Russia, you want Belgorod back? You want the province. You want the province up here back? Give us the province here back, or Crimea back, right? The concern, of course, is would Russia use nukes? Would Russia, if Ukraine were to grab Russian territory, would Russia use a nuke on Kyiv to make them stop? Right? I mean, it's a concern. I don't know. But that's, and it's not a ridiculous concern, put it that way. Adam, what you're trolled out. But anyway, but if you weren't worried about Russia nuking, then yes. Oh, the mods are always great. Yeah. Thank you, Nico. Oh, yes. I want to so one of these nights I need somebody else to take over the show just so I can ban trolls all day. It would make me feel good. I get sort of a catharsis banning trolls. It makes me feel good. Okay. Sorry. Copies is giving us a little bit of an esoteric victory here. Have you heard about the partial success in the direction of Mala Tokmachka? Oh, God. Direction of Tokmak. Okay. Pretty deep, 9 kilometers, but I've seen it only on live map. Okay. Yeah. I mean, who knows? So somebody mentioned ATACMS. I assume there's no news, Mike, about ATACMS. You just sort of wrote that, or is there actually something there? I don't know. In any case, all right, let me look for one other. Well, actually, hold on a second. I'm going to look and just double check that there was no news. It is a Friday night. Sometimes the administration announces things on Friday nights. Let's see if there is. I don't think there is. News. No. U.S. considering, according to Wall Street Journal. Jerusalem Post 23 hours ago. I don't trust that. Is on the process? No, because 5 hours ago, Millie said no decision yet. Yeah, it doesn't look like anything new. Doesn't look like anything's new there. Nope. All right, guys. You know what? I think I'm going to do a quick summary of the news, and then let's call it quits because we can go over to Discord and hang out a little bit, which I don't even know if we did that this week. I think we did it once this week. But we can go to Discord. I will do a quick summary of the news, and then we'll go to Discord. And as I said, remember, tomorrow morning, anybody who's a paid subscriber on TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, Discord, can join us for a special show for just the paid folks for me to thank you. 11 a.m. Eastern time. That's 11 a.m. New York City time tomorrow morning. Washington, D.C. time. Same thing where I live. Tomorrow morning. And we will get together. Usually my friend Vlad in Ukraine joins us. Ukrainian. He's over there and has a lot of input kind of on what's going on, which is nice. And we just sort of shoot the bull and hang out, but it can get very complicated too. What happens when the war ends? We all say, yay. And then I start covering other news. I mean, before Ukraine, I was doing COVID for much of my news coverage was COVID. So I start covering other news. I mean, it depends. That's where international news, but also I've been doing US politics forever. So I could just occur, but My only concern is if I start covering U.S. politics, then we run the risk of it becoming more partisan. One of the things that I've enjoyed about doing Ukraine has been we've got a lot of people, Democrats and Republicans and everybody are left and right, that hasn't really mattered as much because we're all doing this, whereas if I start covering U.S. domestic politics, then it's going to be very difficult not taking a side, I think, so let's see what happens. All right, guys, let me do the quick summary of the stories we covered today, and then we will go over to Discord. It is day 491 of Vladimir Putin's special 3-day military operation. Kherson, per CNN, a Russian military blogger, claimed Friday that Moscow troops tried and failed to clear the east bank of Ukrainian soldiers. That's kind of the southern bank, really, of the river in Kherson. Ukraine has claimed it hit a Russian military headquarters and fuel storage facility in the occupied city of Berdyansk. Poland says it wants nuclear weapons from NATO stationed in its territory to basically counter the alleged Russian nuclear weapons that are being moved into Belarus. The U.S. tells Ukraine it won't send ATACMS because it has few to spare, according to Politico. But then other stories are saying that the Biden administration is still considering giving the 200-mile range or 300-kilometer range missiles to the Ukrainians. Russia reportedly is reducing personnel at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant, making people worried that maybe they are planning on blowing it up. A new poll shows 89% of Ukrainians want to join NATO. Wagner update, lots of little details, but some elements of Wagner are still fighting in Ukraine. Satellite imagery reveals that more than 300 new tents have been set up in Belarus at a military base that could potentially be to house thousands of Wagner men. Ukraine is going to strengthen its defensive lines on the northern border with Belarus because of Wagner, at least part of Wagner, moving to Belarus and concerns that they might invade Ukraine from there. Putin is blocking access to a number of Prigozhin-linked websites. The Wagner Group founder Prigozhin has closed down his media holding, his company, which includes the Internet Research Agency. No idea whether that's actually been shut down or whether he's just basically losing ownership. And, I forgot to tell you this story. So Budanov, who's the head of Ukrainian military intelligence, he said today that Russia's FSB, the FSB is the largest follow-on organization to the Russian KGB, that the FSB has been tasked with killing Prigozhin. So Budanov claims that he has information that Putin has ordered Prigozhin to be killed. Who knows? It is interesting that Prigozhin is still kind of missing. Like he seems to still be hiding, which is interesting. Orban in Hungary is blocking any additional European Union financial aid for Ukraine. And Tinder has officially left Russia as of today. They are gone. All right, guys. All right, let's go hang out on Discord. Discord.aravosis.com. Join us, guys. It's free. And that's it for tonight. So otherwise, thank you for joining us, guys. Thank you all who have been subscribing, your gifts, the super chats, the super stickers, the gifts on TikTok, the memberships on TikTok, subscribers, and the memberships on YouTube. You guys very generous, and I really appreciate it. And do remember, like I said, tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, U.S., I will be live on TikTok for the paid TikTok subscribers. You could even do it right now. Click the subscribe button, and you guys can join us as well. But remember, the paid YouTubers and everybody else, you want to come over to Discord. Discord is where we're going to be watching. There's a special area that says weekly VIP chat or whatever. That's the area where we do it. Only the paid VIPs, you're a VIP. Only the paid VIPs can get in there. So, all right. Okay, guys, let's go over to Discord. Otherwise, I will see the rest of you on Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern time. All right. Up 880,000. We're close. You guys, what? You want to get to 200? I want to get to the Discord, though. All right. Thanks, guys. Thank you, mods. See you guys. Go to Discord.